Good afternoon. This is the Thurston Board of County Commissioners for Tuesday, July 31st, 2018. I'm Commissioner Bud Blake, the chair of the board this year. I'd like to start off by doing a few introductions. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. To my right is Commissioner John Hutchings. To his right is Labadina Bomar, clerk of the board. To her right is Robin Campbell, assistant county manager and budget officer. And to her right is the deputy prosecuting attorney and Scott
Cushing.
Cushing, yes. Good to see you, Scott.
Oh, you recognize your name. Good.
I was going to say Elizabeth, though, but it's not.
Scott Elizabeth.
With that in mind, I'll ask Commissioner Gary Edwards to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
And I, in turn, am going to ask Jim if he wouldn't mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. With that in mind, we have the agenda, and I'll ask if there's a motion to approve today's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Tuesday, July 31, 2018 agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Tuesday, July 31st, 2018 agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye, and that motion carries. Board meeting minutes for July 17, 2018.
I move to approve the board meeting minutes from July 17, 2018.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board meeting minutes for July 17, 2018. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries as well. Well, today we have two presentations, and it's absolutely marvelous to be able to welcome those who have signed on with the county to work here. Many people don't realize that when you come here and you to hire on, you stay for 20 and 25 and 30 years, and we speak highly of that and be able to retain people for their talent, not only for what they do for the county, but their families and their neighbors. It really bodes well as far as what the county has to offer as far as not only employment but service to the public. So we have prosecuting John Thunheim, prosecuting attorney John Thunheim here today to introduce Jesse Knudsen, and I'll let him take it from there to give the bona fides.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, it's really my pleasure today to do a formal introduction. I know that you've already met Jesse in the context of a variety of other meetings over the last several weeks. She's been with us for a few weeks now, but I appreciate the opportunity to come and introduce her formally to you and to the community. Jesse Knudsen is our new community engagement specialist and Target Zero manager. Jesse, why don't you stand up here so everybody knows who we're talking about. And let me just give you a little bit of background around Jesse. I think we're just incredibly fortunate to have her here in the prosecuting attorney's office and with Thurston County. Jessie received her BA in Public Relations from Western Washington University. She is currently working on a master's degree in Communication Leadership at the University of Washington. That program specializes in communities and networks and complements her passion for public service and strong communities. After graduating from Western, Jessie first went to teach English in Kunming, China.
Oh, wow.
She also lived in Geneva. Before returning to the United States, where she began her professional career. And with a background in communication strategy, her resume includes working for the Alaska State Legislature, where she managed media and public relations for the House Majority Leader there, and the Alaska Department of Transportation, developing a statewide communication strategy and overseeing convention sales at the City of Juneau's Convention and Visitors Bureau. She comes to us from the Washington State Department of Licensing, where she most recently served as a consultant on projects related to communication strategy, youth marketing, and guess what? Target Zero. There's a little bit of an inside joke here because I've had a few different Target Zero managers working in my office who have since gone to work for the statewide Target Zero. So they were poaching, so I got one back. And I'm feeling pretty good about that. Anyway, Jessie's a Thurston County native. She was born and raised here in Olympia and currently is living here with her fiance and her German Shepherd puppy. We are very fortunate to have her here, and by the way, she is looking forward to being matched soon with a little through Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
of course, a
That's
program
great.
that all of us, I think, very
Yes.
much support.
Very much.
Myself included, being a past president of the board of Big Brothers Big Sisters, so I'm really excited about that. Just a quick thing about the community engagement specialist. This is a position that's existed in my office for a number of years, and it's been called different things, but that's the latest title. It's partially funded by the State Target Zero program, so it's not totally at state or at local county funding. It's a blended funding, and that's why she manages our Target Zero program. But Jesse's role is to be out in the community helping us engage the community in a variety of different efforts around prevention. For instance, her work, it will also, in addition to Target Zero, include helping support our new opioid task force and the opioid summit that's coming up soon, as well as our efforts in Thurston Thrives, and particularly the Hope Thurston initiative. So very excited that she's here, and if I could, I'd like to introduce Jesse Knutson.
Yay, Jesse.
Yeah, you don't get to sit down.
Jesse, lift the mic up just a tad.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for that kind introduction. I'm very much looking forward to this position. It combines a lot of the different areas I've worked in the past, and I think that it's an excellent team, and I'm looking forward to all the great things that I will be hopefully able to take part in. Sorry, I hadn't prepared anything.
Don't worry about it. We got questions and comments for you.
No,
You
thank you.
can't prepare for these questions.
Thank you very much for being here.
That's it?
That's it. I'm keeping
Wow.
it short.
What's your puppy's name?
His name is Wiggins.
Wiggins?
Out for the road.
I live off of Wiggins. Oh, nice.
Really?
And how long were you in Alaska?
Almost, I guess about 5 years, almost 6 years.
Did you work with tribal entities up there as well?
In some capacity, yes, I would meet with some of them. The representative that I worked for was from the Anchorage area.
And you'll do the same down here, I would imagine, with Target Zero?
I don't know too much about that yet, but
Okay.
hopefully.
And have you seen the movie Mystery Alaska?
Mystery Alaska. I have
How many
to
have
confess I
seen
have
that
not.
movie? You
Oh my
got to
God,
see it,
Todd's
right?
seen it. Todd's
You
seen
got
it.
you got to watch Mystery
I'm
Alaska.
writing it
Watch the
down.
movie. Yeah,
Thank you.
it's worth it. It's worth it. It's based on a true story.
All
You'll like
right.
it.
Put on
But
my
welcome
list.
to the family, Jesse.
Thank you so much.
So is it Geneva, Switzerland? Is that what
Yes,
he meant to
that's
say?
correct.
Yeah, because I thought so. Okay, so now here comes the ultimate answer. Either Switzerland or China. Which one was better and why?
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's really tough because they're so different. You know,
I've been to both, I know.
I will say in Switzerland, I had the opportunity to ski at Chamonix,
Oh.
and that may edge out China. I really enjoyed that.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're going to the University of Washington?
Yes,
And
yeah.
so is it Roll Tide or the Huskies?
Well, I mean,
No,
you
what
know
do you mean? What's the answer?
I'm teasing, it's okay. No, it's good. Thank you so much for what you do, and I know I've seen you in so many various parts of the county ahead of the game, and I really do appreciate your enthusiasm to be there for Target Zero and many other components of the prosecuting attorney's office. Thank you so much.
thank you.
You bet. All righty, so our next presentation we have is from the Community Planning and Economic Development Department, otherwise known as CPED, and have Mr. Joshua Cummings to do an introduction of Derek Baker, who's a building inspector with the Community Planning and Development Center.
Yes, thanks, Commissioners. I am Joshua Cummings, the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development, otherwise known as CPED.
Yep.
I am here to introduce Derek Baker today. Derek is part of the strategy that we've engaged in our entire department in finding efficiencies and ways to better serve the citizens in the permit and planning processes that we have. In particular, when we were at this same volume of inspecting buildings, we were back before the Great Recession, and we had 10 building inspectors at that time. Currently, we have 3 building inspectors with that same volume of inspection. So we're looking to build staff into this area, but also find virtual inspections, e-inspections, ways to increase the technology that we utilize to make sure that we're able to serve the citizens in a quick and efficient manner. But at the end of the day, it always comes down to humans, the people that are going to be operating that technology and the people that are going to be interfacing with the folks in the building community. So I'm really excited about Derek coming on board. He comes from the private industry, construction sector, both in the commercial and residential sectors from the Puyallup area. He's utilized the virtual inspection tools in the past, such as Skype and other tech tools. He's also familiar with computer-aided drafting and those types of other technology applications. And I just would say also, I see Kurt Harden is in the audience here over at Emergency Services Management. His wife is getting her master's degree in emergency services. So just as a heads up, if we're thinking about having folks come down from Puyallup and relocate into Thurston County, want to make sure that there's opportunities for good folks. So that was an attempt at getting it. I kind of fumbled it a little bit there.
That's all right. Somebody will pick up the ball and run.
But I'll introduce Chris Edmark, our current building inspector supervisor, or building supervisor, to say a couple more words about Derek, and then have Derek come up to the podium.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. Hello, Chris.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Derek comes to us from Zetterberg Homes in Puyallup. He spent some time working for Sound Life Church as a construction manager and doing commercial work. He's, again, like Josh said, worked both commercial and residential. He's married and has 5 children.
Great.
Wow.
He lives in Spanaway. He's attended the Northwest College of Arts in Paulsbo. His wife recently completed her master's degree. We've already talked about that. He's recently had a dog with 5 puppies. 5. That's a common thing, isn't it? He wants to work toward a supervisor position in the building section, and we're going to set him on a path for success for that. And we look forward to him working with the electronic and virtual inspection project and bringing new ideas from the contractor's aspect. Okay?
You bet.
I'll let Derek speak.
Yay, come on up, Derek. How you doing?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I look forward to being here and working and serving in this community. It's been great this last 2 weeks or so that I've been here, so I appreciate the opportunity and this opportunity to meet you all.
You bet.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments or questions?
No, I just want to take a little spin off of Mr. Cummings. He introduced you properly when he said quick and efficient. That's
There you
what
go.
we're all looking for.
There you go.
So thank you very much, and look forward to working with you, sir. And now we'll have these new technologies rolling right along. And I'm glad to hear you've got some experience in that background, because we're striving to be efficient.
It helps a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you subscribe to the theory that all the customers are always right?
I subscribe to the theory that help the customers think they're always right.
There you go. Because they're not always right,
That's
but they're
right.
always important.
Yes,
They're always important, but they're not always right. And that's
Correct.
your job to square them away.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, do you have difficulty remembering all the names of all 5 kids and puppies?
Well, the nice thing is I can remember the kids, and then I let the kids name the puppies, so I don't have to remember them. Because that changes all the times anyways. So.
Because I'm number 7 of 9, and it was always, whatever your name is, I'll find you, and I know what you look like.
Yeah,
My parents didn't remember all the
sometimes
names.
if they're going at it or arguing, I'll just, you boy, that one right there, yeah.
You,
yeah.
the girl one.
Yeah,
You're the boy one.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you. You're a great asset
Thank you.
to
Yeah,
CPED.
and I would just like to add to those same comments and echo them. But is it the cutting? Are you going to be more involved in the e-inspection portion of what we've talked about at the table and those kinds of things?
I would like to be, yes. I have a
E
lot
being
of,
electronic inspections for the audience, yeah.
Yes,
Video
absolutely.
version, yeah.
yeah, video, yeah, Skype, FaceTime. There's a lot of different avenues to pursue and finding ways to make it user-friendly for the public that we serve
Yeah, I
at
think
all
that's-
different levels of ability with technology and
I'm
stuff.
so excited to hear that. It's just high time that we've gotten to that level here in Thurston County as for modernizing our processes and procedures to help out not only the constituents ourselves, but time is money, and remarks are quicker when you do that way. It's as simple as dialing your phone sometimes.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Derek. We
Yeah,
look forward to working with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Yeah. So next on the agenda is the opportunity for the public to address the board. I have a sign-in sheet here, and then there's one also in the back if it hasn't already been filled out. And so it's a first come, first serve as far as those who've signed up and as far as the order. There's 3 minutes, as you see on the right-hand corner, right-hand wall over here. And when it counts down to 0, you'll hear this kind of a microwave sound. It goes, and you're done at the 3-minute portion, right? However, if you're mid-thought, midstream, where you're at in your speech, I'll just kind of prompt you to finish up because we absolutely want to hear you. But at the same time, I ask you respectfully to kind of close it off as much as possible. So 3 minutes, and when you come to the podium, for the record, I ask you to say your first and last name and generally where you live in the county, and then we'll just take it from there. So the first person I have on the list is Mr. Glenn Morgan. Hang on just a second, Glenn. I gotta get a clock person. All right, go ahead.
So, for the record, my name is Glenn Morgan. I live between Tenino and Rochester in South County. And my topic today was just about the Thurston Conservation District. And specifically, I wanted to thank this commission for delaying the decision on the fees and charges that was proposed recently to the commission. And I want to apologize very specifically about my failure to look into the Thurston Conservation District, or at least follow through on an investigation that I've been involved in about 3 years ago. And unfortunately, I dropped the ball on that investigation at the time, and it kind of fell by the wayside. And now with recent controversies that have erupted there, I've been digging back into it. And I think that there are serious concerns that have been raised in the Thurston Conservation District, just in regards primarily to fraud, waste, and abuse. And at one time, the conservation districts were viewed as a soil conservation farming outreach entity. Some have called it welfare for farmers, and now it's oftentimes called farming for grants. It's not illegal to do that, but it's just that basically it's been viewed as and it sometimes made sense because the Thurston Conservation District could help in cost sharing to some farmers who were involved in trying to comply with an ever-changing regulatory environment. However, unfortunately, the way the Conservation District in Thurston County seems to have trended recently is that there appears to be a widespread lack of accountability, and it's created an environment and opportunity for fraud, waste, and abuse. And as you know, the Thurston Conservation District uses a substantial amount of federal funding, and this creates the potential for an Inspector General investigation, which is what I'm actually working with, generating the evidence so that we could actually have a legitimate investigation, which is substantially more thorough than what the state auditor's office has typically done. And I would urge this commission to consider not just delaying, but possibly rejecting any fees or increases from the Conservation District this year. Taxpayers should not be expected to subsidize fraud. And until the chaos at the Thurston Conservation District is actually cleaned up, and particularly after a potential IG investigation is concluded, I think that asking the taxpayers to subsidize some of the questionable behavior that's going on here in the Conservation District would be a road too far, and one that we probably don't want to go down. And I'm afraid that Thurston Conservation District is not the only conservation district in the state running into some of these same structural problems. And based on meetings I've had with former supervisors in a number of conservation districts around the state, there does appear to be a common pattern of behavior, unfortunately. And anytime there is the likelihood of fraud, waste, and abuse, I think that should always raise red flags and let us put the taxpayers first, and let's figure out what's going on here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your work today, sir. So next I have Sam Merrill. Hello, Sam. How you doing? Good to see you. Come on up to the mic. Can you pull it down just a tad for me?
I will.
There you go. You got it. It's yours.
Right.
The floor is yours.
Right, yeah. I'm Sam Merrill. I live out on Cooper Point, Olympia, and I'm the chair of the Conservation Committee of Black Hills Audubon, which is the local chapter of National Audubon Society. And we have approximately 1,300 members in Thurston, Lewis, and Mason counties. Black Hills Audubon supports science-based regional greenhouse gas emissions targets, targets that were recommended by Thurston County staff and would be 45% below the year 2015 levels by 2030 and 85% below by 2050. We support the progress that the Board of Thurston County Commissioners has made on a climate mitigation plan, and understand that a vote on the greenhouse gas emissions targets is scheduled during the meeting today. Climate change is already making more likely severe storms, flooding, droughts, wildfires, and of signal importance to Olympia, sea level rise. To address climate change, we believe that we need substantial changes in our municipal, county, state, and national planning. Adopting a climate mitigation plan in Thurston County is a significant step in that direction, one that should be a beacon to other counties in our state and beyond. Thank you.
Yep, thank you for your input today, sir. You bet. So next I have, forgive me for the pronunciation of the name, but Nello Garci or Gorsi? Oh, there you go, sir.
My name's Nello Grassi. I live on Lake St. Clair on the ski side of it, and I'm here to address the problem. There's some people that want to change
Can you do me a small favor and just lift the mic up a tad? There you go, right there, it catches you.
that want to lower the level or start the speed limit at the level that it's at now. And herein lies the problem is when I was skiing as a kid, and I'm not against skiing at all, I'm all about it. But when I was a kid, you got a boat with the smallest wake you could. And now they've got these boats with bladders in them that throw a 3-foot wake and they surf behind them. And with the level of the water that it's at right now, it just is destroying the shoreline on the fast side. It's not a natural thing to have a 3-foot wake on a lake. And like I said, I'm not against recreational skiing and boating. I'm all for it. But we have to address the issue of the water level first and get that dealt with before we can allow this to happen. And basically, that's really all I have to say is it's still an issue that needs to be addressed, and I don't have any answers for it other than, you know, until the water goes down far enough, please keep it where it's at. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today, sir. Next on my list is Warren Muirfield. Hi, Warren.
My name is Warren Muirfield.
Muirfield, I'm so sorry.
I live on Lake St. Clair. I'm an engineer in the forest products industry. I bought on Lake St. Clair 30 years ago, built a house that I couldn't build again. It's a old-growth redwood home. It's the home I expected to stay in and live my life out in. But I am a slalom skier. I do have a boat with a minimum wake. And, you know, I've not been able to ski the last 2 years. And this is the third year that looks like, you know, this summer is going to be over before I can ski. I intended on being able to teach my grandkids skiing. I have 6 grandkids. You know, 2 of them are 15 and 16. One's already 22, and you know he's pretty much gone. But you know, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. So you know, I'm here just to say that you know we need to have equal justice, equal rights. I know, you know, that property destruction may be happening, but you know that can be repaired. You can't give me back 3 years of my life, and I don't have too many more years to slalom water ski. I was able to do it last year. You know, I had to drag my boat to Black Lake for you know a couple skis, but that's an all-day thing. You know, I've done it a couple times this year for my grandkids. Onto Black Lake and Mason Lake, but you know to do it, yeah, it takes you all day, and the water. It's a big lake. They're big lakes. The water is so choppy that you know I wasn't going to water ski. It's just all you know. You don't slalom ski on chop. So you know I still haven't had an opportunity this year. When I'm on the lake, you know I take the opportunity when it's there, when the water is calm, and during the week, not weekend when it's busy. You know, I just am hoping that we can come to a resolution of this, a compromise. When they first established the level, this is my understanding, it was so that when it got to that level in the winter, that you stopped water skiing. Those would, you know, the wetsuits and that couldn't water ski when it could cause damage. But now it's got to be where, yeah, it doesn't get below that, and I understand it's something that needs to be dealt with, but if, as I have heard rumor that you're looking at it as an act of God and you're not going to intervene, well, then get rid of the speed limit. Or at least a compromise would be to end it July 1st and start it again September 1st. You know, that gives us at least 2 months. I don't know how much damage can happen in 2 months, but at least we have a summer. The people on the lake, I think I've talked to a lot of, because I put a post out on the Lake Sinclair Community Association, and I got a lot of response. There's a lot of them that have lived on the lake for a long time, and it's like a heritage to them to teach their kids and their grandkids to water ski.
Alrighty.
So I would like to put a motion before the board that we do drop or raise the speed limit 1st of July.
You bet.
And bring it back 1st of September.
Thank you so much for coming today, sir.
Thanks.
You bet. Next on the list, I have Mr. Clayton Kruger. Hello, Clayton.
Hello, board, neighbors. I'm also here today in the capacity of a resident of Lake St. Clair. I am on the board of the Lake Association, and I want to make it stated that I'm not here in the official capacity of a board member of our Lake Association, which has been established to address the high water issue. I'm here as a resident that is urging the board of directors here to continue to consider Lake St. Clair a multi-purpose lake. I also want to state that I'm personally very sensitive to the issues that my friend Nello brought up here, the first one to speak. I know where he lives on the lake. I know him. I know his situation, and I'm aware that property damage is a real issue, and it's not one that we want to be impacting our neighbors with. I would just like to state, however, that when this issue was first brought to the attention of the Board of Thurston County Commissioners in the year 2000, your predecessors determined that the appropriate level for speed restriction was 69.9 feet above sea level. That lake level for speed restrictions stayed in place for 12 years. 12 years we had no problem with 69.9 feet. And then without explanation, in the year 2012, between April and May of 2012 is when the 69.5 feet above sea level became the new mark, as well as 200 feet from shore. So what I am asking you guys to do is to go back to the paperwork, the resolutions, starting with resolution 12163 in the year of 2000, that established the water level at 69.9 feet after extensive research was done on property damage. In addition, I would just like to state that to ease the concerns of neighbors such as Nello that raised his concerns about property damage, I, for one, am open to conversations about different types of restrictions as it pertains to bladders, types of boats that may cause additional damage. But I don't think that we should assume that everyone's intention is to go out and damage people's property. And I think that if we put some common sense rules together, that we could find a healthy compromise and we could reestablish the 69.9 feet above sea level as an appropriate ski level for multi-use recreation. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you, sir. Okay, next on the list is Ariel Simmons. Hello, Ariel. Pretty good. There you go. Perfect. You have it all on the disc? Is it on the... Go ahead.
All right. Hello, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Ariel Simmons, and I live in West Olympia off of Cooper Point Road. I'm a recent graduate of the Masters of Environmental Studies program at the Evergreen State College, where my thesis, thank you so much, where my thesis focus was centered on small and medium-sized city climate action plan creation and implementation in Western Washington and in Oregon. And I am currently a researcher with the Resource Innovation Group's International Transformational Resilience Coalition, working to address toxic stress and psychological trauma associated with climate change. I'm also the new Thurston County Field Organizer for Yes on 1631, the Equitable Climate and Clean Energy Initiative. I am here today to urge you to join the cities of Olympia, Tumwater, and Lacey to adopt the emissions reductions targets 85% under 2015 levels by 2050. All of our livelihoods, health, and well-being are dependent on swift and efficient movement toward reducing emissions and creating a strong and resilient fossil-free economy. Thurston County has an incredible opportunity to lead in facilitating this transition to safeguard and strengthen our communities. Please motion to adopt the targets. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for your words today, too. So moving on to the next page, I have Jeff Weatherly.
Hello, my name is Jeff Weatherly. I live on Lake Sinclair. I'm not a public speaker of any kind, so I'm not very good at it.
It's quite all right. We can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'd like to thank the board members for their service to the community and for taking their time for public input. And I also respectfully request the board to consider facilitating a discussion with the lake residents and the border community on the lake level regarding the 2012 resolution restricting speed limits to 5 miles an hour at 69.5 feet. I would also like to request to be added to your interested parties list in order to be notified about future ordinance and resolutions in District 2. And that's it. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for your words today, sir. Mm-hmm. Next I have on the list Jim Tuggle. Hello, Mr. Tuggle. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for this opportunity to speak. Jim Tuggle, Tumwater, Washington. Been involved in salmon management and as a professional and as a volunteer for, a long time, more than 50 years. Career with Fish and Wildlife. I was in charge of law enforcement for several counties, depending on what era we're in. Deschutes River, all in Thurston County. Some time ago, beginning in 2003, a group of us wanted to see a salmon hatchery built somewhere in the Thurston County area to work well for the Deschutes River. We don't have a hatchery here. We just have a place where we release fish and collect fish. Then the salmon are moved all over, regardless of potentials for parasites and diseases and things like that. Anyway, I'm going to try to make this as brief as I can. I was on the Tumwater Parks Board. We got Tumwater to donate a piece of land at Pioneer Park by Henderson Boulevard for the new hatchery. All kinds of signing agreements were made with Fish and Wildlife. Fish and Wildlife, Washington State Fish and Wildlife, hasn't been able to pull it together. It's time to do that. The management on Deschutes River for salmon is a mess. Now, you probably don't know this. We have all kinds of environmental regulations in Thurston County for the protection of fish in the Deschutes River. There's basically no salmon in the Deschutes River. This year, 30,000 Chinook salmon returned to the falls. 30,000. 100 salmon, all males, were put above the trap. Yeah, yes, Commissioner Edwards, amazing. There used to be more put up. So next year I looked, and the plan is to put no salmon above the trap. The Deschutes River is open for fishing for salmon on this year's regulations. There just won't be any there to fish for. There could be with some nudges. So I'm just kind of warming you up to me coming back to talk about lots of things. The governor is worried about orcas. I am too. It's not the height of my existence. 60 to 70% of the Chinook salmon that orcas want are dead before the orcas have a chance to get them because of cormorants, seals, and sea lions. In the last 10 years, we've had a 60% cutback in the production of Chinook salmon from the Department of Fish and Wildlife. So this year, I'm involved in several organizations. We're going to go to legislature, and we're going to come to you for some extra muscle on getting some things done right, at least the things that we can get done right here. And we have funded an education piece for the hatchery, a school classroom size building, if you will, that will be maintained by the city of Tumwater, no cost to county residents, just city of Tumwater, and that's part of the plan. The plans have been changed and modified. They spent over $1 million so far in this hatchery, and there hasn't been one shovel of dirt turned. I'll come back to you again. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your words, and do come back. Okay, next person I have is Chris, and is it S-O-G-N or S-I-G-N? O-G-N. Okay, please come on up, sir.
I don't know if I have the opportunity to show a couple of pictures that I have.
You can give it to her now or after you speak, either way.
Okay. Can I pass one to you?
No, she'll just give them to her. She'll get them around to us.
All right.
I want to get you to the podium.
Can I assure you these pictures are big?
Sure.
I timed it so I know I fit within 3 minutes.
Okay, the floor is yours, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Chris Song, and I'm a member of the Ken Lakes Urban Forest Committee. We have observed Olympia's rapid and continuing urban growth surrounding our private 22-acre forest and see a need to reclassify this area in order to be proper stewards of this property. We call this our urban forest out of acknowledgement that our preservation and maintenance goals for the forest align with the USDA and United States Forest Service 2016 to 2026 vision for preserving urban forests. It's imperative that we emphasize that the current no-access classification prevents stewardship as well as creating a detriment to the property. The outcome of the existing classification is allowed illicit activity that exposes liability to our neighborhood association. As you know, we have removed over a ton of debris from existing homeless encampments where we discovered drug paraphernalia and propane canisters. And that's what the two pictures show evidence of. It's imperative that we be able to monitor activity in this forest to prevent future liability. This can be done with reclassification of this private parcel to recreational use in order to increase supervisory presence via a private walking trail. So let me illustrate the trend for transient encampment along the 101 corridor, and this refers to the second picture that I have up here. The location of our forest is within this black circle. Yellow dots represent persistent transient encampments. What is known is that every interchange correlates with homeless encampments. The city's 20-year growth plan proposes 2 new interchanges immediately next to our urban forest. It's only logical that there will be an increased presence of illicit activity in the urban forest in the next 20 years, and the current classification will allow this to occur. The 2 lines that are marked on there in red at the top of the picture are the proposed interchanges at Yager Way and Kaiser Road. I'd like to end with a recent event that illustrates the liabilities of unsupervised land with an article from the Olympian just dated 4 years ago that's titled, "Fire at Nearby Homeless Camp Closes Pacific Avenue Friday Morning." So while fire is a concern in the dry seasons, I think with unsupervised activity back there, it can go unchecked. Lastly, access to the forest land is a benefit. And I'd like to point out in that picture, the forest on the left is managed through private holdings which have agreed to an arrangement that allows people to walk on forest roads and trails. Persistent encampments on that land have been eliminated as unusual activity is expeditiously brought to the owner's attention. So the Ken Lake Forest within that circle is the only unmanaged and unsupervised forest in this picture. As the City of Olympia has a 20-year growth plan, so must Ken Lake. Our proposal is to decrease illicit use of the property with reclassification that will allow Ken Lake residents to access their own land in order to supervise it. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you for your words today, sir.
How about
Perfect.
that?
You are on the
Wow.
spot. That's great.
That's the best I've seen.
Yeah. Is it CJ or CV Clark? Come on up. The floor is yours. Yeah, give them to her, and then she'll pass them around, and you can take the podium.
My name is CJ Clark, and I live on the south basin of Lake St. Clair,
Okay.
here to address the lake level. The pictures that you have there are photos showing the ramp levels. They're still kind of going a little bit uphill. The ramp levels are being pushed up by the water that are also lifting the piers. And we do feel that the difference between the 69.9 level that you previously had and the 69.5 level that we have now, that 4.5 inches that's shown in that picture now, it's pretty detrimental still. And we don't feel that you should change the level back up to the 69.9. We feel that the previous board made an informed decision that we had a lot of testimony for, and the compromise was the 69.5. A lot of people wanted it a lot lower. We want the water skiing. We'll be there in a couple weeks. We're very, very close, and we're very sorry that we can't ski and we can't see the families enjoying the recreation out there. But we also need some mitigation for the wave action. It's okay when there's 1 or 2 boats out there, but when there's getting to be 6 boats out there, the wave action is pretty aggressive, and it's undercutting a lot of shoreline. You've got some pictures of trees there that are dying from that. We would like to see the joint venture that's being taken care of now by Lake St. Clair Committee, Thurston County, the City of Olympia, and the tribe. Just let that play out, see if we can get some mitigation going on with them, and protect our shorelines and our docks and our property. It's very, very expensive to repair, very hard to get the permitting. And so we would like to leave it as it is. Respectfully request that. Okay?
Thank you so much for your work today, ma'am. Next I have on the list is James, either Celoso or Gilesso. I can't make out the first letter. I'm so sorry. You can tell me. Put me in my spot.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is James Geluso. I reside in Wilderness. The Thurston County Sheriff's Office is a dues-paying member of the National Sheriff's Association, which means that a little bit of, a few pennies of each of our tax dollars, and more importantly, our imprimatur and our approval goes to this organization. Back in June, just a month ago, the organization gave the Lifetime Achievement Award to Attorney General Jeff Sessions. I'm sure you know what news was coming out in June. We heard this morning in congressional testimony that the Attorney General had been warned that there was a significant risk of harm and psychological injury as a consequence of his policies to children. This is at best a deeply partisan act by the National Sheriff's Association. As you can guess, I would describe it in much worse terms. I request that Sheriff Snazza withdraw Thurston County from the National Sheriff's Association until such time as the National Sheriff's Association withdraws its award to the Attorney General. Thank you.
Yep, thank you for your work today, sir. Next I have on the list Bruce Treckler. Hello, Bruce.
My name is Bruce Treckler. I'm also a resident of Ken Lake. I've lived there for about 25 years, and I serve on the committee with Chris, the Urban Forest Committee. And I'm not going to repeat everything he said, but I am going to touch on a couple of things. One of the issues about this property is that there have been hazards because of the litter and propane and so forth, but there was also a 15-foot approximate deep hole about 20 feet in diameter, and bottom of which there was a dead dog. And it's since been filled in and it's not there, but without us having gone back and forth on that property, we never would have found this hole. It's out of the way. So I want to point that out. Second, one of the issues you've had raised by some other people are trails behind people's homes. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there's a city park, a new city park on the boundary of Ken Lake. It's called Kaiser Woods. I'm one of the park stewards for it, which is how I know about it. There are 13 homes in Ken Lake that are on the border of that park, and their backyards in the park, and there are trails in there. People like me hike through there, walk their dogs in my case, ride their mountain bikes through there. And we have 4 other parks in Ken Lake. All of them have houses next to them, behind them, in front of them, and there are people in those parks, particularly this time of the year, a lot of the day. We also we as homeowners in Ken Lake are going to have the continuing cost of removing the debris from homeless encampments if we cannot have access to it routinely in order to keep that debris down. And frankly, it costs several $1,000s to take the debris out of there that we've already removed. But you know, I really would like not to have that as an ongoing expense. And finally, I don't know that anybody's raised this issue with you, but our property taxes are going to go up as a result of this zoning change. And I just want to make you aware of sort of the order of magnitude of the cost. It's going to be 70 cents per household per year. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming today, sir. My next third sign-in sheet is Mr. Bob Kagi.
I'm Bob Kagi. I live on Lake St. Clair. I've lived there for 40 years and probably one of the largest private waterfront owners on the lake. And I live on the south side of the lake where the water skiing is. And I grew up water skiing on that lake. I strongly support raising that level to 69.9 feet. We have obviously multiple issues on the lake, high water, low water. We have formed a group to address that. I'm not speaking on behalf of that group. I am speaking as an individual. But I would encourage the commissioners to take a look at that watermark, given our high water effect, the ability to use the lake as a multi-use lake, as all the residents have purchased property on that basis. I would encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you for your work today too, sir. So there's one more sign-in sheet in the back, and I just want to make sure I capture everybody. And I was wondering if Labanita is going to get it for me. But if you haven't signed in, if you're not, I'll ask you by a show of hands who would like to come to the podium to be able to speak. Just as soon as I get through the list here. So I think there's one more person on here. Yes, Mr. James Peterson.
Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I'm a resident of Lake St. Clair, and I was originally opposed to setting the limit at 69.5 level there. And it's the reason I'm mainly opposed to it and having that level at that level is the fact that it was based on an arbitrary number, and it was based on no scientific evidence of anything, and it needs to be raised up so that people can use the lake for what they've been using it for years. I understand there's some, folks that live on the south end that, potentially have some damage to their property from boats and et cetera, and I get that. However, this is the new normal, it looks like to me. And if it's the new normal, then the people at that end of the lake need to figure out a way to mitigate the boat traffic down there and the damage that gets to their property from that. I mean, we've all got damage to our properties from the lake level. It's just the way it is. Like I said, it's the new normal. It's the new level, and I think that it needs to be raised up significantly so that we can use the lake. We're all losing property value out there to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars each, because if we can't use that lake, it becomes a non-skiable lake and we lose value. And so I'm asking the commissioners to seriously consider reevaluating that lake level, raising it up to a level that's more of a level that's just a wintertime level versus a year-round level. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate your words today too. So if I've omitted anybody or someone has a change of heart, like to come to the podium, just by a show of hand, raise your hand and I'll call you to the podium. Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on with the regular agenda. So the next item we have on the agenda is the county manager update. I'll turn to the assistant county manager for an update.
I have no update at this time, but on the topic of Lake St. Clair, we'll arrange for staff to brief the board.
Okay, great, sure. Next on the agenda, we have the item of consent item, which is consent items A through F, and I'll ask if there's a motion to approve consent items A through F.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve consent items A through F.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve consent items A through F. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. So our next item is a departmental item, and as soon as I can find myself where I'm at, let's see here, it is 4. There we go. I'm at 4. Department items, and the first department item we have is the Public Health and Social Services, and we have a resolution affirming baseline and targets for Thurston Region Climate Mitigation and Planning. And do we have Chris here? Yes. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is
Good
Chris
afternoon.
Hawkins. I'm the Program Manager of Thurston County Public Health and Social Services, and here just to briefly speak to this item. Thurston County, since the spring of this year, has been involved with phase 1 of a climate mitigation planning effort, which is aimed at doing our part to prevent the worst impacts of global climate change on our communities here by working to keep the global average temperature from rising more than 2 degrees Celsius. And this has been a target that's been out there, a goal that's been out there for a number of years. But the Commission agreed to be a part of this process with a couple of other local cities, and working with Thurston Regional Planning Council, has identified sort of an inventory of local efforts that have been underway about this, and the need for a common target, a common baseline and target to reach for in order to be successful in an effort to combat those emissions and reduce the impacts of climate change. So the common target that is being recommended by the staff committee and Thurston Regional Planning Council for this is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 45% below 2015 levels by the year 2030 and 85% below 2015 levels by the year 2050. And this is basically an adjustment from previous targets that have been based in a 1990 year, because we have better local data for the emissions here in Thurston County from the year 2015. And that just gives us a better launching place towards those longer-term goals and targets that you're wanting to pursue.
Anything else?
No, I just quickly wanted to add that this is consistent with the Thurston Thrives Climate and Clean Energy Work Group and previous planning efforts under sustainable development planning for Thurston County. And so there is a great deal of community support and partnership that's ready to work together on creating this climate mitigation plan and to pursue these targets.
Any comments or questions of Chris?
No.
And Chris, is the Thurston Regional Planning Council on board with this as well?
Yes, they're not one of the parties to this agreement that you have with the other cities, but they are the staff and facilitation for the climate mitigation planning phase 1, and the intention is that they would continue in that role for phase 2. And I believe Executive Director of TRPC, Mark Daly, is here.
Oh, he is here,
Did
yeah.
want to have him address you at all on that.
I have no questions, no.
I have a comment. Could you give a little bit of background as far as where we're at in Thurston County, as far as sustainable Thurston? In general, broad, this is not a brand new thing for us, but we've kind of been working on it and we'll continue to work on it. But can you relate it to this particular action, this motion?
Correct. Yes, Commissioner Blake. The county has been committed to working on climate change and climate mitigation for a number of years, and I think the resolution will speak to some of those points, but just to iterate a little bit on that, in 2010, the commissions at that time agreed to work on emissions coming from Thurston County operations. And then between 2011 and 2013, there was a regional effort involving most local governments throughout Thurston County and Thurston Regional Planning Council in a sustainable development planning effort that committed us toward working toward a carbon neutral community here in Thurston County. And so this is really the next step in that. That Sustainable Thurston effort called for the development of a climate mitigation plan that would be much more specific about how we can achieve that carbon neutrality goal and setting targets for that. And so this is really building on that and establishing targets that we can really measure and track progress from and hopefully reach when we get to those years.
You bet. All right, so there's a motion and then there's a resolution. I'm going to go with the motion first and then we'll read the resolution. Is that all right?
Great.
And I see that Ariel, the young lady that has a master's from Evergreen in environmental studies, has left, so she misses this.
The good stuff.
But I move to adopt a resolution affirming the climate mitigation targets for the Thurston region as Thurston County works together with other local governments and the community to address climate change, reduce greenhouse gas emissions 45% below 2015 levels by the year 2030, and 85% below 2015 levels by the year 2050.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. I'll ask Commissioner Hudgens to read the resolution now.
Resolution by the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners adopting common targets to reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to global climate change. Whereas a growing body of scientific evidence shows that carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions from human activities are accelerating global climate change and resulting in local impacts, including sea level rise, ocean acidification, and more frequent and intense heavy precipitation events, floods, droughts, and wildfires. And whereas the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, concludes that the United States and other industrialized counties need to reduce emissions in the range of 80 to 95% by 1990 levels, from 1990 levels, by 2050 to stabilize atmospheric concentrations of carbon dioxide and other heat-trapping gases at 450 parts per million. And whereas the IPCC concludes that hitting the stabilization target will likely hopefully keep the global average temperature from rising 2% Celsius above pre-industrial levels by the end of this century, and thus avoid more severe climate impacts. And whereas the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change's Paris Agreement, which the United States and other nations brokered in late 2015, includes the 2% Celsius, 2 degree Celsius target. And whereas Thurston County and Thurston Thrives Partnership for Community Health Improvement are greatly concerned about the economic, public health, and environmental impacts of climate change on all communities in the Thurston County region. And whereas Thurston County in 2010 adopted a resolution by which committed the county to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions from county government operations. And whereas the Sustainable Thurston Plan by Thurston Regional Planning Council in 2013 and subsequently adopted by the county and cities sets a goal for the Thurston County region to move toward carbon neutrality, recommends supporting emissions reduction targets through 2050, and identifies the creation of a regional climate action plan as a first action step. And whereas the Thurston County and other communities in the Thurston County region have taken action to reduce their municipal operations emissions, but agree that further action is needed to reduce community-wide emissions. And whereas Thurston County, Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater policymakers signed an interlocal agreement in April 2018 to complete Phase 1 of a regional climate mitigation plan. Phase 1 of the plan will identify common community-wide emissions reduction targets, which will be used in Phase 2, which will develop an implementation strategy and timeline for each jurisdiction to meet said targets. And whereas a Phase 1 project team of staff members from each jurisdiction concludes that Thurston County region must reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emissions by 45% below 2015 levels by 2030 and 85% below 2015 levels by 2050 to ensure that local communities do their part to keep the global average temperature from rising more than 2 degrees Celsius. Now, therefore, in consideration of information contained herein, the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners affirms it will pursue the Phase 1 project team's recommendations to reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emissions 45% below 2015 levels by the year 2030 and 85% below 2015 levels by the year 2050. Adopted this date by your Board of County Commissioners. Amen.
Yay. Congratulations, Chris. You bet.
I'm hoping to be here to see that accomplished.
Yeah. I'm going to be with you. 85%.
Did you write that, Chris?
That resolution?
That
Did you write it?
resolution?
That was a team effort.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Thank you very little.
Next, we have, as far as department items, we have the emergency services, and we have Mr. Kirk Harding here to give us a little bit of background on executing contracts for fiscal year 15 FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Kurt Hardin, Director of Emergency Services. Thurston County is receiving 2 grants under the Federal Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And you'll notice one thing about those is, first of all, the retroactive start dates for both grants allow for pre-award costs as soft match for the county and for the county's portion of the cost, and I'll get to that in just a second. The second item I want to point out for both grants is that we've developed a communications plan working with the PIO to put this information out once the board approves it in through social media, posting to the website, and through a media release. So we've got that scheduled for this week.
Good.
I'm going to start with the Firewise Mitigation Grant. That's amount is for $26,786. It's got a $20,089.50 federal share and a $3,348.25 state share, and the same amount for the county share. The county share is a soft match, and it's going to be comprised of staff time, facility usage, and other in-kind match contributions. So there should not be any impact to the county budget. The Firewise is a program designed to help communities and individuals be prepared by protecting their homes and businesses before a wildland fire starts. Wildland fire is the most frequently occurring hazard in Thurston County. On the average, the county sees approximately 70 wildland fires per year. Most are handled by local fire departments, but there is potential for much larger incidents. The Firewise will promote defensible space, ignition-resistant construction, and vegetation management to reduce flammable fuels around buildings. Funding this grant will bring 2 assessing structure ignition potential train-the-trainer training courses to Thurston County. The target audience is local fire department personnel, homeowner associations, builder associations, public works, landscapers, construction contractors, and planning departments. Firewise will be incorporated into our public information outreach efforts. We will encourage all of our communities to be Firewise communities and take action in preparing and protecting their homes and businesses against the threat of wildfire. The second grant is a Thurston County Home Elevation Grant, and the funding for that is $215,609, and the federal portion of that is $161,707, and the state portion is $26,951, and the same amount, $26,951 for the county portion. The county match will be a soft match as well, with staff time, permit, and inspection fees, and from the Departments of Emergency Management and Community Planning and Economic Development. The project scope is a flood hazard mitigation, elevate primary residences structures 2 feet above the base flood elevation or documented high water, whichever is greater. This continues Thurston County's strong program of flood hazard reduction. And the homes that have been identified, there's been 5 homes identified. We believe we can elevate 2 or possibly 3 of those homes with the funding provided. And the location of those homes are in the Deschutes River Basin. So, once again, we request the county commissioners approve these 2 contracts for the grant funding that's coming into the county.
All righty. Any comments or questions of Kurt?
Do other folks get a benefit on insurance rates because of this action we're participating in?
Other homeowners do not get a benefit for this particular action. However, what it does is it also, the homeowners do get a benefit from the CRS, Community Rating System. That's a different topic, and those that have flood insurance get a reduction on their flood insurance premiums because we're a CRS2 community.
Thank you.
Any comments of Kurt?
No, you answered all my questions this morning. Thank you.
All right, is there a motion for the grant program?
I move to approve the hazardous mitigation grant contract for the Thurston County Home Elevations for the period of August 15, 2017 through November 11, 2019 in the amount of $215,609, and the hazardous mitigation grant contract for Firewise training for the period of May 9, 2018 through October 14, 2019 in the amount of $26,786, and authorize the Director of Emergency Services to sign the contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Alrighty, item number 6 is Commissioners and County Managers items, and we have Robin Campbell to speak to us a little bit about a public hearing for final plat approval.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Today I'm requesting that you set a public hearing to consider granting the county manager final plat approval authority, and that would amend Thurston County Code 18.16.060. Prior to legislative action, only the Board of County Commissioners could approve final plats within the unincorporated Thurston County. The state of Washington legislature amended the state law in 2018. That gives authority to the board to delegate authority to the county manager to be able to approve the plats. The advantages to this are to save time for the applicant, to not have to go through the approval process for the board, will save many weeks for the issuance of permits, and it also saves staff time. So this is simply to set the public hearing at this time, as requested.
Public hearing is September 4th?
Yep, September 4th at 3 o'clock.
So are you able to give a little bit extra information about how this changed legislatively?
So the legislature took action. It's RCW 50.17. I'm not quite sure what the impetus of that was, but I believe that, right, the many jurisdictions had petitioned the state for this.
Sure, it gives us a little bit of flexibility.
Right. It's good for the citizens.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
I guess I might add that the municipalities have been able to do this for quite some time.
That's true.
We're just catching up now.
Cities have been able to. This is just new for counties.
It was brought to our attention recently on tour that Greg took us on.
Any comments?
Nope, that's it.
Nope. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to set a public hearing for Tuesday, September 4, 2018 at 3 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard at the Thurston County Courthouse, Building Number 1, Room 280, to accept and consider public comments on granting the county manager final plat approval authority.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. So you have another one, 6B, which is the County Policy and Procedures Manual.
Yes, thank you. I do have a second action for your consideration. This is to waive the competitive bidding requirements under Thurston County Code and approve a contract with Stellar Associates. The work of the contract would be to create one consolidated policy manual for the county. The county currently has several policy manuals. There's the administrative manual, there's the personnel rules, an IT policy manual, we have a debt policy manual, there's a financial guidelines manual, and it's quite confusing for county employees to know where they're supposed to look for guidance, especially since many actions are in more than one manual. And as an employee, I should think that if I find one guidance, I shouldn't have to read all the rest to see if there's something else. So it creates confusion, it's time consuming, and what we would like for Stellar to do is create one single manual that has all of the county policies. The reason that we are recommending for the board to waive competitive bidding requirements is Stellar has already done this type of work with our public health department, and they are familiar with county policies that will bring the cost down.
Any comments, questions?
And I might add, I'm told that it is legal to do so.
Yes, it is.
And I think also a benefit will be, as we get this accomplished, citizens will be, it'll be easier for citizens to look things up in regard to their county government policies and procedures.
We can absolutely put them online, yes.
Thank you.
I would add not only the public having a greater ease, but even our own staff would have a greater ease in navigating through all these dadgum policies, as well as deconfliction of all the
Those
different
are all
policies.
of our goals, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right, is there a motion to waive?
The move to waive competitive bidding requirements in accordance with Thurston County Purchasing Policy 6.G and authorize the Assistant County Manager to contract with Stellar Associates, LLC, in an amount not to exceed $66,500 for the creation of a comprehensive county manual of policies and procedures.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries.
Thank you.
So that moves us into 6C, which is where commissioners can report out on any of the work sessions or assignment of the committees or just any kind of thing they've seen in the community. And I'll turn to my left and ask Commissioner Edwards if he has anything he'd like to speak about.
I guess just to kind of keep it brief and a broad overview, my week basically consisted of water issues, homelessness, opioid issues, the Endangered Species Act, and the Habitat Conservation Plan, which I thought maybe the board chair might be talking about the fact that we submitted that to U.S. Fish and Wildlife to complete, hopefully to alleviate the problems that citizens have had here in Thurston County when we get this finally okayed by Department of Interior. So I guess I'll leave that up to you. Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Before I begin, I have a question of the county manager. When regards to Ken Lake, when is that issue coming up, that open space issue? Do you know?
No, I'll
Off the
have
top
to.
of your head when that's coming up?
It'll be on the agenda to set the public hearing on August 7th.
So next Tuesday, that'll be to set the public hearing, which will be sometime in September then.
The public hearing is proposed for September 18th.
Oh my gosh, goodness, okay,
Because of our
18th.
scheduling and 20-day notification process.
Okay, thank you. My last week consisted of, I attended the STEADY. Now, STEADY is the Strategic Thurston Economic Development Initiative, bringing all of South County, almost economic development community together to help their building their community and their economic strength. I attended the Lacey Food Bank campaign breakfast to raise funds for the Lacey Food Bank opening out on Martin Way, which is going to be a great facility, especially at that location. I attended the CYS, the Community Youth Services Open House last week. And that was kind of featuring Derek Harris, the brand new CEO, replacing Scott Hanauer. And last Thursday was the Thurston County Opioid Task Force, and it was kind of like the opening salvo for this Friday's summit, put on by Prosecuting Attorney John Thunheim and Public Health and Social Services Director Shelley Slaughter. And of course, Commissioner Bud Blake opened the entire session with opening words. And then I attended, or I not attended, I did a public health and social services tour with Director Shelley Slaughter last Friday, going around the health department and meeting employees that I haven't met yet, even though I've been here 18 months. And they do, oh my gosh, they do such tremendous work. And Saturday, I was a judge at the Tenino Oregon Trail Days pie judging contest. And typically what they'll do is give you a small little sample, and you taste it and you rate. But what they did this time was a whole slice of pie. And there were like 12 or 13 pies, but we only had to do half. There was two groups. I had 6 or 7 pieces of pie. It was a bit much. Then I ate a bratwurst on top of that. Anyway, but you have to support the Lions Club, and you just gotta. With sauerkraut and grilled onions, you gotta do that. Anyway, Thurston County Oregon Trail Days, a huge success over the weekend. And I'd like to reiterate 2 more things, and I'm done. August 1 through the 5th, that's starting tomorrow, Wednesday through Sunday, is the Thurston County Fair. Not to be confused with what the Olympian was reporting, that it already has been happening. It hasn't happened yet. And it's kind of a sad day because this morning was the Kent police officer Diego Moreno's funeral service. And our wishes and our hearts go out to the the entire department and obviously to the family as well and the community. Thank you.
You bet. Has been busy times, and while it wasn't mentioned that we didn't do it last week, but just recently we did the groundbreaking for one of the fish passage, the salmon passage out at Hunter Point on Steamboat Island, and it was attended very well by not only the local community but the Squaxin tribe, obviously some of the public works workers. And it was just wonderful to see that happen and get started. And I think they've already started some of the construction. I think they started the Monday after, so that's great. As Commissioner Edwards mentioned, we finalized the Habitat Conservation Plan here for Thurston County. I can speak personally for me. There's been 4 arduous years as far as the twists and turns of that, both cost-wise, land-wise, the emotional roller coasters on both sides of the table, both no matter where you sit. It's just absolutely great to be able to bring some level of assurity in this plan and get it to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife in a reasonable time so that we can move forward in both the environment, the economy, and the people who live here in this great Thurston County. And I think it's absolutely marvelous that it's happened. As Commissioner Hutchings mentioned, we spent some time in Tenino for the Oregon Trail Days, not only for the festivities and the pie tasting, but just to celebrate some of the traditions of that community. Wonderful community in terms of hospitality and family, friends, and fun. And I look forward to next year already, so that's great. In addition to that, I had from a more of an official standpoint, I went to the Tenino City Council and briefed them on the Hazardous Weather Task Force. Now I've been to Lacey, Yelm, next schedule is Olympia, but Tenino, went to there and briefed them as far as what the seasonal portion of it means, the Code Blue, and the emergency portion. It's really a great little in-betweener plan for saving lives during cold weather, and it was great. At the same time, county manager and director of Department of Public Health and Social Services, Shelley Slaughter, and county manager Romero Chavez were at Tumwater briefing it. So we split the deal, and they went to Tumwater, I went to Tenino, and the Hazardous Weather Task Force is absolutely a phenomenal little group to help out those who are in need. So. The other thing is I attended the opioid task force. As he mentioned, that's a huge effort for this county to take a legal approach, operational approach, operational being health and preventive in nature. I think it's high time that we took a stance on it here in Thurston County, draw a line in the sand, so to speak, because we care about the health of the people here in Thurston County and the future that tends to be here. So. It's great to see that get started. And of course the fair, we hope every single person can come out there that can come. I know it'll be a little warm, but it is part of a tradition here in Thurston County. It's part of it's an asset, and we love to celebrate friends, family, and fun out there as well. So with that in mind, I'll just turn to the assistant county manager, see if there's any new falling calendar items. Yeah?
The upcoming calendar. I'm going to read the items that are scheduled for you. There are times scheduled on your calendar on Wednesday and Thursday that don't have any topics planned that will be canceled. But the things that will go forward, tomorrow, Wednesday, August 1st, at 9 o'clock, you'll have a briefing from the Washington State Fish and Wildlife on Chief Bear presentation. I'm not quite sure what Chief Bear is, but it should be interesting.
Chief. I think
Chief Bear.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. At 11:15, you'll be at new employee orientation, and at 2 o'clock, you have a briefing on boards and commissions tomorrow. Then tomorrow evening at 5:45 is the welcoming ceremony at the Thurston County Fair, which is opening tomorrow. On Thursday at 9 o'clock is the briefing on the county's 2018-2019 general liability and property insurance policy renewal. At 10 a.m. on Thursday is commissioner's check-in, and the rest of the work sessions for Thursday are canceled. You have no meetings of the joint board on Friday, but on Saturday morning at 7:30 at the fairgrounds is the commissioner's annual pancake breakfast. Yeah, yay.
And citizens can come to that as well.
Yes, citizens and volunteers
Not
are
just
welcome
commissioners?
to come have a pancake and some juice with the board. And no meeting scheduled for Monday. Tuesday, we're back here.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
No.
Anything? Any last
No, sir.
things? So with that in mind, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn the Tuesday, July 31st, 2018 BoCC meeting.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. We are adjourned.